Stifler drinks some cum.
No, Stifler drinks some life juice.
And specifically Kevin's life juice.
Is that better? I don't think that's better. I don't think that's better at all. That was
It's
a terrible
disgusting.
euphemism.
I'm recording a disclaimer for the start of this episode.
Yes, please do.
Disclaimer, this episode is disgusting.
Can we turn our explicit rating on for this one?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we have to.
Kevin's life juice.
There it is. There's the intro. We've done it again. We're at the end of another series, and the ending is an absolute classic. Let's see how well this film has aged. Welcome to the Three Takes of Stupidity with our final coming of age episode. This week, it's American Pie. I'm joined by Chandler Monk.
Hello.
James Robbins.
Hi, fuckers.
And I'm Alex Clinton. Let us tell you about this one time at band camp where we reviewed American Pie.
Yes, I'm actually really happy you put that as a reference in the intro.
I hope you didn't stick any musical instruments inside you. So welcome back, boys. Episode 10. Episode 10. Double figures. More self-congratulatorying. I can't say that word. Rounding out our 10th episode with American Pie seems absolutely wild, considering we've just done Almost Famous and The Boy and the Heron. Yeah, completely similar films. But it definitely fits the theme of coming of age. But before we get on to that, since we last recorded, been up to much?
I have not.
This week, me and Charlotte went to go see Cabaret. We got some tickets as a present for Christmas. So we went to go see that at the Playhouse Theatre, which was really good. Really recommend going seeing it to anyone. They've done the Playhouse Theatre really well. They've like dressed it up as obviously the Kit Kat Club, which is the club in the show. They have like musicians and performers like playing around the bars and stuff before you go in to see the show. Before you go in to see the show, so you get the feel for it and everything. It's really good, really well done, and it's a really interesting show. I've never seen it before, never even watched the film that came out whenever it came out 30 years ago, whenever it was. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
I'll play the role of the uneducated listener, because obviously all our listeners are highly educated, but some might not be. What's Cabaret?
It's a musical set in late 1920s Germany, early 1930s Germany. So there's like it's set at the Kit Kat Club, which is like a nightclub essentially in that era of Germany, and it's basically
Kit Kat
set.
Club still exists.
Is it?
Yeah, and it is definitely different. It's like a lingerie and nude club.
Yeah, nightclub in late 1920s, early 1930s in Berlin. And yeah, it's set there. It's about the relationships with like a dancer and a writer who's come to Berlin to write a novel. It's also about like a relationship between a hostel owner essentially and one of their tenants. And yeah, it's set on that backdrop of the rise of Nazism essentially. It's a really interesting show, really good.
Lovely.
As I've said before on the podcast, big fan of musical theatre. One I'm really looking forward to going and seeing. Funny enough, again, about Nazis a little bit. Going to see a production of The Producers in a couple of weeks with my partner. That was her Christmas present to me, because of The Producers is one of my favourite musicals ever written by Mel Brooks. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that as well.
I have been doing a lot of catch-up TV, caught up on The Traitors. Do you two watch The Traitors?
No. We talked about it briefly before. I should watch it.
Yeah,
it's definitely on the list. I've tried to convince Charlotte to watch it, but to no avail at the moment. So all my friends talk about it and say how amazing it is. So I definitely do need to watch it.
It is fantastic, not only for the deception and mind games, but Claudia Winkleman's Fringe as well. It's fantastic. A really good show.
Is it as low as her eyes yet? Because I think it just keeps getting lower and lower every time I see her.
Do you think it's like a defense shield? She's lowering it until she becomes invincible.
Yeah.
Claudia Winkleman as a superhero would be fantastic.
Winklewoman.
That's a Channel 4 comedy show ready to happen.
James, been up to much this week?
No, it's been a quiet week actually. What have I done? A friend of my partner's came over for dinner. That was nice. My girlfriend made dal because our friend is vegetarian, and I deep fried some vegetable samosas. I can't claim that I made them myself, but they were very good, and I did go to the Asian supermarket specifically to buy them. What else?
If I may just jump in quickly, obviously all of our listeners are very educated and understand a lot of things, but just in case they don't, what was the first thing you said? Obviously I know what it is and Chandler knows what it is, but just in case.
Are you asking what dal is?
No, obviously Roald Dahl is a fantastic author, but I didn't know you could cook him.
Dal is like an Indian lentil dish, spiced lentil dish. That's normally, it can be like a side, but it's vegetarian normally. So yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, of course. And I knew what that was, but now all of our listeners are being caught up there.
Brilliant. And do you know what a samosa is, Alex?
Yes, it's a drink.
That's a mimosa.
and you could also have a mimosa with a samosa. Again, for the one uneducated listener out there, whoever you may be, now we know what it is.
A samosa is a triangle pastry filled with something and deep fried. This was filled with vegetables, but I do like a lamb samosa.
Nice. Should we crack on and go to Bandcamp and talk about this film?
I don't want to go to Bandcamp. You don't know what you're going to catch off of the instrument.
As per quick housekeeping, so American Pie is the story of a group of high school classmates. They all make a pact to lose their virginity before they graduate or before prom night, and it's just a story of their adventure. It's rated 7, a flat 7 out of 10 on IMDb. It's available to watch on Channel 4 in the UK, and I imagine around the world with some sort of VPN provider.
Which we don't have a sponsor for yet, but if you feel like sponsoring 7 us for get 7 people to hear it, then that'd be delightful.
Well, that's not going in.
700 people.
If you want to sponsor us with our thousands of millions of listeners, please do.
Alex, what did it get on Rotten Tomatoes?
It got a number.
Brilliant.
Rotten Tomatoes, it scored 62%.
And the audience score?
Not phenomenal. I think you'd think it'd be higher. And the audience score was a 61. But you've got to feel like that's tanked recently.
Do you think that's been review bombed, as in the past 10 years?
I think if you went back... Yeah, but that's just a change in attitudes. I think if you went back 10 years, it's probably 20% higher than that, maybe.
Well, it is a 7 rating on IMDb, and you have to remember, yes, this film has a clear target audience of young men, or just men in general, and not just men are going to review the film.
Yes.
And as I'm there enjoying the movie, my partner's walking in, rolling her eyes and going, ugh, every 5 minutes. So I imagine that brings it down. And obviously it's not like complex cinema, it's just fun.
I haven't watched this film in a long time, so when I sat down to watch it and saw the scene that, we see Jim wanking right at the start of the film, and I forgot how iconic this film is.
Can I make a request?
Yeah.
I think for this episode, instead of saying words like wanking, if we can't think of anything, just go for what it is. However, I do think it would be fun to try and just throw in random words instead. Give a little
euphemisms,
little wink. Give a little euphemism instead.
Okay.
He was
having a hand shandy.
He was giving himself a handshake.
No, he was fighting the sock monster.
Okay, fine. Jim fighting the sock monster. I forgot how iconic this film is. Like, I genuinely, a massive smile came to my face, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be in for a treat for the next hour and a half. Like, again, one question I actually wanted to ask you guys, because as we've spoken in the past before about me seeing films of this type probably a bit too young, I wanted to ask, do you remember when you first saw this film? How old you were?
I think I was about maybe 13, 14.
Yeah.
I think.
James?
I was a young teenager for sure, 13, 14. It's like you're growing up, hormones are raging, and you've discovered girls. And it's these films that, unfortunately, are the early films that teach you about life in this respect. I remember, I think around that time, it was like American Pie, Girl Next Door.
Oh, Next Door.
Weird Science.
Weird Science is a great film.
Yeah, like just movies for teenage boys, essentially.
Yeah, I think I think I was a little bit younger. I think I was probably 10 or 11 when I saw this film.
My God, anyone would just take like 6 years off their normal viewing time for this film, but off any of our films.
This is why I haven't shared our podcast to anyone at child services, because I think your parents would get retrospectively arrested.
Very good. But the difference is as well, I actually think I saw the second American Pie before I saw the first.
Really?
Which meant if I remember rightly, I think some of the jokes in American Pie did it too. I didn't get because I hadn't seen the first. And then when I did watch the first, again, I was still around that age of like 10, 11. And again, I think I wasn't like, there's not a difference between like 27 and 29, but there is a difference between being like 11 and being 13. So some of the jokes you don't quite get at that young age. So yeah, that was one thing I wanted to ask you guys.
You would also like to think that like much of the characters, your attitude and your because when I watched it now, I sort of saw it as the satirical, way over the top comedy that it is. But I think when I watched it originally, there was less like it was still funny, but you sort of take it more as face value.
I think I would agree with that, because I think when you're younger, like even slightly older than 13, so let's say 13, 14, 15, you probably would say, and in a wrong way, you'd say you look up to these characters.
No, I think they have enough flaws that you wouldn't look up to them, but you would recognise the behaviour.
What, like the wrong behaviour?
Yes. But I think each of the characters in their own little way, obviously they've all got their flaws, their pros and their cons. Finch is probably the most level by today's standards of the characters, but even he has moments where he goes a little bit off kilter.
Well, the one thing about Finch that I really like, because I think looking back on this film, 6 years later than it came out, is Finch does what tech billionaires do now. Finch knows the power of rumours and misinformation.
He's fake
Finch
news.
Is cool. Do not compare Finch to Elon Musk.
But it's true though. He at that age in the late 90s goes, right, I know what will help me. Rumours.
However, we don't know it's a lie.
No, we do know it's a lie.
No, we do know it's a lie. He pays $200 to have these rumours spread.
But he's having the rumours spread, and one of those rumours is he has a large member. He's got a big old tripod. And the other one was that he had an affair with an older woman.
Which we know is a lie.
But it became true.
Doesn't matter. Still a lie.
I can't believe that this film had a nice little bit of foreshadowing.
I wrote that as well.
I love that. It made me. I was like, I can't believe it. This isn't some intellectual masterpiece, but there it's chucking in a nice bit of foreshadowing. So, by that respect, I think because that rumour came true, I'm going to let Finch have all of the rumours.
So, like, even the rumour that he beat up Stifler?
Yeah. I bet it happens. I wonder, does he beat up Stifler in any of the films?
No, so it's referred to again, I've seen these films a lot, unfortunately.
We can tell.
At the start of the second one, there is a joke, like Stifler and Finch are about to have a fight because Finch makes a joke about sleeping with Stifler's mum. And basically, Jim and Oz stop the fight and go, hey, we went through all of this last summer. Finch got a black eye and Stifler got 10 stitches, something to that effect. So yeah, they have a fight, but it's off camera.
But it counts.
But it counts.
But it counts. So thus, Finch has a large trombone. He slept with Stifler's mum, and he kind of beat up Stifler in a way. So, go on, Finch.
I think the journey that all five of them go on, there isn't really much of one for Stifler, and that sort of continues throughout the main trilogy. And then...
Yeah, it continues out the main trilogy, but in the wedding film, no, not the wedding, the reunion film, the fourth one, he does have a bit of a journey. Can any of you seen the wedding? Sorry, anyone seen the reunion?
Doesn't he just become a decent human being?
I've seen the reunion once.
There's a great bit where he finally sleeps with Finch's mum at the end of the reunion episode.
Oh, yeah.
I think Kevin is the most... Like, his journey is, like, underhand, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not underrated because it's not very much of a journey. If anything, he takes a slight left from his normal course.
I feel sorry for Kevin. So, a bit more about Kevin. He has a relationship with Vicky, played by Tara Reid. Quite a famous, I think one of the more successful actors from this franchise. I think she's also had a bit of a troubled time as well.
She has. She was in The Big Lebowski before this,
and
as well.
They have a relationship where she won't have, I can't think of a word, boys.
Relations.
She's denying relations with Kevin because she wants it to be perfect. She wants her first time to be perfect, and we're told that they are stuck permanently on third base. Also, that he has never made her see the rainbow.
Given her a big O, as it's referred to in the film.
But Kevin, we'd find out later on in the film, she says, "I love you," and he can't say it because he wants that to be perfect. Like, this film is filled with misogyny and just dirty jokes and toilet humour, but the boys are all kind of sweet, like the main four, not Stifler.
Yeah, they're not
animals.
Yeah, apart from Jim, who does something objectively illegal and should go to prison. They're not like that one act aside from Jim. That was not excusing him. He should be in jail.
And that we'll touch on that in a bit.
They're not like total assholes.
No.
They are. They're not like. They're a little bit like. Actually, I've just thought of this. They're a little bit like the In-Betweeners.
A little, yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually like, they're not like massively cool in high school. They're not like
they're not the
bad geeks
either.
or the dorks. Exactly. They're like that weird middle ground you have in school, like the In-Betweeners, who are like they just skate on by essentially.
Well, there's four of them. So there's Jim, played by Jason Biggs, Finch, played by Eddie K. Thomas. You've got Kevin, played by Thomas Ian Nicholas, and Oz by Chris Klein. Like, Chris Klein's a jock. And then Finch is some aloof, cool guy in a way.
He's not cool. There is at no point in this film where he is made out to be like the cool, mysterious kid. He is made out to be like the weird, aloof guy.
No, he's just normal.
I think Jim and Kevin are the normal ones.
Finch is just
not normal.
He's just vanilla.
Finch is not normal.
He's vanilla.
No, sorry.
Because like, but he's not like normal because like he says like a Latin joke.
Yeah, I bet you love that as well, didn't you?
He wants to be Finch wants to be sophisticated.
Yeah,
but then
exactly.
Kevin and Jim are like two of the everymen of the film.
Yeah.
They're probably the most relatable, most regular guys, I think. But yeah, Kevin, the whole film, he wants to have sex with his girlfriend. They have fights. She wants him to say, "I love you." And then they finally have awkward intercourse, and she dumps him the morning after. But like, I felt so sorry for Kevin because I felt like it felt like to me that he was like happy to say "I love you" there. He was really happy with the relationship. They finally had sex, and then Vicky's just like, nah.
I agree with you on that. But you know, all three of us, you know, went to university, and like, how many people did you meet at uni who came to uni with a partner and now are still with that partner?
One.
So I know zero people who had a partner from school that was still together at university and are still together now. Put it this way, how many people did we meet like that? And we can all, between the three of us, there's two. It means it's very, very unlikely, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, but there's no way that she knows that at this point. She's just broke little Kev's heart, little Kev IN's heart.
Kev, she finally got to the point where she was willing to get down and dirty. Kevin was finally. Nice. Is that your bedroom dancing routine, Alex?
No, I'll show you that when we do Jim. When we talk about Jim.
Yeah, it feels like Kevin's finally hit a milestone. And then the next morning, she just says, "You know what? I've realised not everything's going to be perfect." And then she breaks up with him. She's just beating the guy down.
do you think it's because they had bad sex?
I think they did have bad sex.
That is women striking back.
They need to for this film.
But talk okay, so talk of women striking back, right? Let's move on to Jim's journey then.
Yeah, fine. God, lovely segue.
Thank you. Because Jim, again, as I've said, like Jim at the start of the film, we obviously find out he has this crush on Nadia and cannot talk to her. Like he tries to stroll up to her at the party and literally says one thing, laughs, and then fucks off. Because he can't, he's like, I have no idea actually what to say. I have no charm in of myself.
I did love how he walked over. I loved how he walked over.
I did enjoy the At Last playing in the background as well. And he just can't do it. And then he bumbles about, like he gets this. But again, if we're talking about Jim, we also need to talk about Eugene Levy.
Yes.
Who, like Sean William Scott as Stifler, just steals the show with every scene he's in. Catching him wanking, and his reaction to the porn. Catching him playing the one-eyed snake.
Nice.
His reaction to the spicy video saying, "Spank my hairy ass."
I love that he comes in and tries to sort of cover for his son, though. He's like, it's just a nature documentary. It's just a nature, it's just bad reception. Let's get out of here.
And then and then shows him the porn, and as Jim's bumbling about, like, this is Hustler, this is Playboy. Shaved, not one I'm mostly interested in.
So this scene was very early in the film, and it did create a return opportunity after 2 serious movies for the chuckle chart.
Nice. I bet his chuckle chart is long.
Decently long.
I laughed at basically every joke that was put out in this movie.
I just love that they show you the screen with the bad reception, and then eventually he's going, "That is a tit." You can't see anything.
So I wrote down in this, it was like how hard it was to find that type of naughty content before like the real evolution of the internet.
Yeah. Naughty content.
I guess we've never had to experience that. You know, life nowadays is just porn on top. You go on Twitter and you see a wholesome post, go underneath it, and there's 18 naked women.
Excuse me. It's X.
No, we don't call it X.
You can tweet on X if you want to get in touch with us.
About naughty content. No, please don't do that. Please don't do that.
Send James your naughty content.
No. Please don't.
Anyway, moving on. So Jim goes on this, like, he's fumbling about, doesn't really know how to talk to girls. And then, like, probably the most unbelievable bit in this film is Nadia, the Shannon, played by Shannon Elizabeth, who is stunning, decides, right, do you know who I need out of this high school full of probably really attractive boys? I need Jason Biggs. I need Jim.
She also asks him if she can help him with her world history. There's no way someone from Czechoslovakia is asking an American boy about world history unless it's, do you know where Oregon and Iowa are?
So Nadia decides to basically go around to gyms and change after ballet. This whole bit is so fucking weird. It's so strange, right? Because Jim decides to commit a crime by broadcasting her he means to just his friends.
Who they've goaded him into doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the whole of the high school, which, without her consent, obviously, which is massively illegal and massively wrong. But on the same side, which I wrote down, Nadia decides, changing, obviously, quick change into, like, other clothes in someone else's room, fine. She decides to go around his room, look through his stuff, and then start to... I should have thought of one before.
Have a tug.
Flick the bean.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She decides to flick the bean, which that in of itself is so weird. No,
it is. But I think she clearly had the intention of not going there to study, because I think specifically they were going to study oral history.
Fine, fair enough. But like, surely then she would just go, stay in here. Surely she would have just gone, fine, stay in here while I change.
Yeah, maybe.
No, you gotta build suspense. And he also does not want to stay while she changes, by the way. He wants to really view his crime from a different angle.
He doesn't know that she's gonna play the fiddle. he just thinks she's going to change. So she's gone to, he's gone to watch on the, unfortunately, the webcam feed. That's also very blurry, but they are so happy about it.
But that's one thing I noted down is how different quality and resolution is on webcams from now and back then.
I don't know about my analysis, but yours is still about the same.
Shut up. Anyway.
But can we just point out that someone else from the school watching the broadcast was Blink 182?
Correct.
Yes.
I had that. Yes, it's very, very famous in this. It's so funny to see them pop up.
Scumbags.
What, Blink 182?
Yeah.
Why?
Tuning in on the internet to watch an illegal stream of a naked woman.
Right. I thought you meant in real life.
No.
Isn't everyone a scumbag that's tuning in?
Yeah, 100%. Like the whole school are scumbags.
There's also a group of girls that have tuned in.
But here's the weird thing: no one calls the police.
They're kids. They want
No
to
one
see
views
this
this
in
as
school.
a crime.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. No one views this as a crime.
One, we learned in Almost Famous that all rock bands are scumbags. And two, I don't, like, you guys must have the same thing. Almost it happens at every secondary school in this country was some girls' nudes go round the school. And that is a horrific thing that happens. But it does happen. And nothing happens about it. They go off into the ether somewhere. It's terrible. But this is to say, those kids aren't going to do anything unless a parent gets on. Admittedly, they are 18. I would expect them to know a bit better than when we were 14.
I completely agree with you there.
Yeah.
I think it's alluded to the fact that they're seniors in high school, so they're 17, 18.
Oh, okay.
By graduation, they're 18, which the film takes place around towards the
not
end of
by
the year.
graduation. It's by prom.
By
But
prom.
it's slightly different. It's like I didn't turn 18 until after the school year had finished because I'm born in August. So it's like the same thing. But anyway, I agree
So you're
with
saying
you there,
Blink
Jake.
182 could have been watching some possibly underage children?
Yeah.
No, the fictional version of Blink 182. Let's not get sued by.
This alleged representation of Blink 182.
Anyway, I agree with you, and I want to touch on the stripping bit, but
Yeah.
I'll just jump ahead slightly. We find out in the next scene that Nadia's sponsors, who are sponsoring her to be there, saw it, punish her, and say, "Right, you're fucking back to Czechoslovakia." Jim doesn't get a punishment.
No,
How
if
weird
anything,
is that?
So bad.
Jim is annoyed that she found out about it and is no longer talking to him.
But we find out at the end of the film that she is, because they have a webcam chat and he starts stripping again.
She just genuinely likes him. And that's the thing I want to point out. You talked about how it's kind of unbelievable that she wanted Jim, but I don't know how many times you see, like nowadays, the most average blokes with the most beautiful women.
Money. Right. Just talking about Jim stripping for a second. Loved it. I loved the acting in this scene. Absolutely. Jim, I also love the bit where he looks at the camera and he goes, right. You can see in his mind that he's like, right, my friends are watching. I need to somehow block up that camera. And decides, right, it's the t-shirt. The t-shirt's going to save me here. Flicks it on. Brilliant. Love it. And talking about one of the, as I said before, I watching this too young. I didn't understand, Jeff definitely remembers doing this. When I watched it, I didn't understand what was going on when like they stopped moving forwards. I didn't understand about the premature ejaculation, essentially. Like, I was like, why is he just going, oh, that's why I was definitely too young to watch this film for the first time.
We're not going to call it premature. We're going to call it early splurty.
Early splurty. James, I feel like all you've done in your research is just come up with loads of different euphemisms for everything.
What I'm very impressed with is how these have all come off the dome.
But yeah, so I didn't understand that. And then just to tap it off, my favourite line probably in this whole scene is when Nadia takes her knickers off and just says, shaved, I believe is the expression.
Yeah, because his dad gifted him some nude mags and one of them is called Shaved.
It's brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
It is so good.
And she's been reading it. And then secondary splurties.
Secondary splurties.
Again. And the reaction of everyone on the webcam is quite hilarious.
Of like, again? Is that even possible?
Yeah.
I love that all the girls sit there when they're like, with their drinks just go, again? No. Like they're watching reality TV.
Jim's story starts here, but I feel like this doesn't really affect him that much. You make a great point. Like, he doesn't get punished, but then even at school, he just gets people laugh at him a little bit, and then that's about it.
He's definitely embarrassed. But then he sort of goes, right, fuck it. I guess the only girl who I have a chance with now is some random band geek, played by Alison Hannigan to an absolute fucking T.
But Alison Hannigan, who is like, he treats her like dirt. Like, he's so mean. He doesn't want to talk to her.
He doesn't go through his journey.
But it's like, she's not... He does. So I do think he does. I think he slowly starts to... His whole thing was he can't talk to women. And he can't steal a deal. And by actually becoming a friend of Michelle and them actually talking, by the time the movie progresses and they get to prom, he's able to have a conversation with her. She's telling stories and she's like, well, you're not talking. She pulls him up on it. And then he's like, well, actually... And just starts going through a load of stories, including when
Stifler drinks some cum.
No, Stifler drinks some life juice.
And specifically Kevin's life juice.
Is that better? I don't think that's better. I don't think that's better at all. That was a terrible euphemism.
I'm recording a disclaimer for the start of this episode.
Yes, please do.
This episode is disgusting.
Can we turn our explicit rating on for this one?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think we have to.
Kevin's life juice.
There it is. There's the intro. Jim doesn't really have a journey. He has a realization. We get to about an hour and 10 into the film, and then they are having that conversation where she's like, you don't talk much. And he's like, all right, I'll tell you a story. And that's sort of when he just wakes up and goes with Michelle and is like, I'll stick with you, you stick with me.
But the funny thing about that is he says this story and she seems really interested in it. And then Michelle goes, right, this one time at band camp, I had to play Spin the Bottle. And immediately does Jim go back to like, I can't bother to listen to you. It's only when Michelle goes, this one time at band camp, I stuck a flute up my pussy.
Had to be said. There's no way around it. We can't add a different thing here.
Lady Garden.
That is the exact quote. But anyway, that he goes, I'm in here.
Yeah.
And then by the way, Alice Hannigan says a line of, that's band camp. That's what we do. That's most of what band camp is, learning about sex ed. So yeah, so then Jim goes up to the bedroom to have sex with Michelle, and that's where she admits to the lie that she knew about the video.
She said, I knew you were a sure thing.
Exactly. And then in the morning, he leaves and Jim is like, I got used. Cool.
He's so happy.
He's so happy because he's done the deed. He's fine with it. It's such a weird that, like, I think, as I agree that Jim doesn't really go on a journey. He just like, I want to have sex, ends up having sex, is fine with it, right? The weird thing about this is actually maybe the subtle like gender flip in the situation, because it's Michelle who's like, I'm going to go out on this date with Jim because I know I'm going to get laid, and then fucks off in the morning. Like, she has no emotional attachment to it.
It's maybe the only point of female empowerment in the entire movie.
No, yeah. Jessica has a few moments where she's educating.
Jessica's a brilliant character.
Yeah.
Jessica's a brilliant character. Like, in that story of Kevin and Vicky, she's really good as, like, Vicky's best friend. She's like, if you want to have sex, go have sex. She's very sex positive, Jessica is. And is like, fuck it up, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
She's one of the more famous actors
Natasha Lyonne.
Was in Orange is the New Black and in lots of others.
She was in something on Netflix called Russian Doll, which is fantastic if you guys haven't seen it.
I have not.
It's basically a Groundhog Day thing of where she relives the same night over and over again and has to figure out why. But go watch it. It's very good.
The Russian dolls are inside each other. Ah.
We've touched on Kevin. Kevin found his love and then it was crushed. Jim doesn't really go through much of a change.
Have sex. Is fine with it.
Jim's
goes on with his life.
Goes through all of the 4 movies more so than just this one, I think.
I would, yeah.
And then I want to move to Chris Klein, Oz, the jock, the lacrosse jock who also plays football. he says, who I am certain that his story in this 1999 movie was the catalyst for the creation of High School Musical.
Yeah, I really like along with that.
Do you know what? I
I'm
can't
giving
argue.
you that meme. I'm at the table. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'll tell you what. I agree with you. I'm not. I have no notes. No notes. But I think in my notes, I've written down Oz is genuinely the only one who actually goes on a journey and realizes something about himself.
Yeah, he goes from suck me beautiful to gotta change this, join a choir, then joins a choir to get with the choir girl, or choir chick as Stifler calls her, then actually starts to enjoy being in the choir in itself. He sort of does it for him.
Yeah. It's Troy Bolton.
But I agree. Like he's like, right, he tries his like usual thing with the college girl, goes, fucks
Not
it.
usual. He is a virgin. He just acts like, because he's the jock, that he has more experience than the other boys, and he does not.
I agree, but it's like we find out that they genuinely used to call him Nova, so it's like thing of like he's tried this before.
The name's Nova. Casanova. Right, calm down, Nova.
Which I love how in that scene where he in the car with the college girl, he goes from suck me beautiful to I'm called Nova, Casanova, with nothing in between. He's like, shit, suck me beautiful hasn't worked. Nova's definitely going to work now.
But then that doesn't work, and she has to drive him home.
Yeah, so I want to touch on two things about, one, the college girl he's with, and then also circle back a little bit to Kevin, because his brother. Those two instances are the only instances we get of college students at the time who are a little bit older, and you can tell that they're a little bit older. So Kevin's asking his brother for advice on how to
make sure that she enjoys it just as much as he does.
Yes, and give him that lesson that he should help her set off the fireworks. And she tells Kevin to go. He once Kevin's learned that lesson, he's like, you can go get the Bible now, the sex manual. The sex manual is quite funny. There's a page in it called The Enemy.
I wrote that down as well. Know your enemy.
Know your enemy, and it was vibrators. And I'm going to say it's 2024, 2025. Vibrators are your friend, boys. Don't be afraid. You're not getting replaced.
This week on the Ann Summers podcast.
Stop being incels. Don't be afraid. And then but it does make him, how can I say this? Take a dive into the swimming pool and give her the big splash.
Big O.
And
the big O.
And then in the car, very different. The girl says to Oz, you need to just, understand a woman.
Listen to them.
Overall, listen to them. And, and he takes the piss out of that in other conversations, like, oh, I've got to listen to them and blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, yes, they're real people. Have some conversations, and then rather than being douchebags, and you might get somewhere.
I completely agree, because at that start of the music, when he's in the choir, he's like, I'm working a different angle here. I'm going to, be this, they don't know me. I can be the sensitive guy. And yes, he starts the journey as like, oh, this will help me get laid. But at the end of the film, he's actually gone, do you know what? I actually really love this person and I want to be with her. Doesn't matter about scoring. He's already won.
He discovers he's a big softie.
Yeah.
Is he the first one that says, I love you to them? Because it's always on, Kevin's always the one where they're like, are you going to say it? Are you going to say it? She's just said it to you. You should probably say it back. And he just never says it. But I think Oz at the end is like, I love you. Or I think I'm falling in love with her, I think is the line he uses.
Yeah, he says it to a friend. He said it because they don't have sex. He's the only one that doesn't seal the deal at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It looks like they do, but they don't.
I think it's actually meant to say that he has had sex, but because he's above it all, he doesn't admit that to his friends, because it's like, I don't care about your validation on the fact that we've all had sex together. It's the fact I've had this special moment with my girlfriend.
They did not have an orgy, as Chandler had accidentally alluded to.
What?
They didn't
haven't
all have sex
together. They had a pact to all try and have sex by prom night.
So I think the thing of like, they've yeah, so they've like had this pact to like have sex by prom together, and he's not done it, but he doesn't. I think that's the thing of he doesn't care about what the outward validation he'll get from his friends by saying it is what I'm trying to say.
Because he really likes her and he doesn't want to brag. So yeah, maybe that's the case. I took it more. I don't think the film's that intellectual, and I just think he didn't have sex. But they are sat under a cover in the morning on a decking at a lake, naked under a duvet. So it looks more like they did. But
yeah, exactly.
But Heather, she's framed as the respectable girl throughout the whole thing, the more sophisticated of the lot. But I
would also argue that Alison Hannigan is sort of represented as that, as you know, a bad geek, and like
she's a geek. I don't think Heather was a geek.
But no, not a geek. But it's also framed that just because Michelle is a geek, that she wouldn't be into sex, whereas she's actually like, no, band camp, we're all doing it.
But I think you mean, James, is that Heather maintains it throughout. She like maintains this sort of level of just being the really nice girl, and it never goes away. Whereas Michelle does obviously have that sharp right turn of going, I put things in myself, and I'm going to put things in you now.
Oh, God. So they all had very different moments at the end of the film regarding it. So we haven't touched on Finch yet, so I'll leave that. But Oz had a very romantic time with someone he truly cares about. Kev had an awkward time, which feels weird because he's been with the girl for a long time, but they probably both weren't really ready. And Jim was abused.
Used. He wasn't abused.
He was used a little bit. Well, used.
Yeah, he was used.
Used and abused are two very different things when it comes to this.
I was going to say used and abused. He was thrusted into a dom sub relationship for that night.
Say my name, bitch.
What? Say my name.
So the funny thing about that is Alison Hannigan improvised that line.
Oh, nice. Good. She's great. How I Met Your Mother fame. She's fantastic.
Buffy, this.
Was she in Scary Movies as well?
No, I don't think so.
That's Anna Faris is the main girl from Scary Movies.
So the
first few Scary Movies.
So all the sceneries, I mean, obviously this is how they develop a film, but Oz's scenery by the lake on the decking is very romantic. Kevin's in, like, I guess, the parents' room of the house, trying to make it perfect, nice bed, but it doesn't end up that way. And Jim's in the little brother's room.
So talking of the little brother, I love him as a character.
Oh, he's a little douchebag.
Oh, God.
I love him because he's so funny. It's like he pops out of the cupboard and just goes, "You guys are gonna fuck, aren't you?"
This Chandler, I know you didn't like it, but this is why you're the closest representation we have to Stifler.
The man-child.
When your eldest brother had brought a girl home and you were like 7, I bet this is what you were doing.
Don't know. You got to ask my older brother.
I think it was really weird when he jumped out of the closet and went, "You guys are gonna bang," and then he just wants to stay and watch. It's like, God, you think it's an exhibition?
I agree that it's weird, but it's still funny.
He's far too young to be a cuck.
Did either of you ever watch a show called Tucker, a kids' TV show called Tucker?
No.
Little kids show. No, but he was the main kid from Tucker, which I always remember. But I really enjoyed his character. And he shows up in the second one as well, which is great. Just the final word on Oz's character. I think, again, as I said, he's the only one who goes on a journey because at the end of the day, he's the one who stays with the girl that he ends up sleeping with. Like in the second one, they're still together and have like a long distance-ish relationship, especially over that summer in the film set. So yeah, they're the ones who stay together for the next film. So I find that really interesting.
I don't think that's his coming of age story, though. It's like he got into a relationship. I think his is more realising how the bravado's rubbish and he's softer than he portrays at the start. And he loves
I agree, but I think it's both.
But,
I think it's both.
No, because I think it's relative, right? Because Kevin's been in a relationship for a long time. Jim was just looking for that one night stand. So I don't think him actually staying in a relationship with Heather makes the difference. It's how he's moved on as a character that allows him to have that relationship. The relationship is proof, not not actually why. You know, it's the proof of his growth. It's not his growth.
Fair enough.
Why am I being so analytical at bloody American Pie? teen film of about four.
I was thinking exactly the same thing when he was speaking. There's literally this movie contains jizzy beer, and you're like, but I don't think that they've moved on in just the right way. I don't think their love is pure and true. Now I think we should move on to the man who is just a prophet throughout this film. He, as Chandler says, he dictates his lies to the school very well, sets himself up as a little Elon Musk.
No, he's not like Elon Musk. He's not a weird, creepy incel who lost his kids. Finch is cool. And as we've touched on, his lies come true.
I feel like James wants to shag a MILF.
No, but Finch, I will not have this Finch slander.
No?
Compare him to some
Ageist.
cool people.
Okay, at the end, he's sort of a James Bond character where he drinks the whiskey in his white tux. There's some moments in the Finch story that should be noted. From his refusal to poo at school, that's understandable. No one would ever poo at school.
I completely agree. Very quickly. Do you know that scene, as I've said, they're the in-betweeners. Do you remember that scene in the first episode of In-Betweeners where they pop over the stool and take pictures of Will as he sat on the toilet?
Yeah.
I was always scared of that happening to me at school.
I thought you were going to say I did this to multiple people. I have multiple poo pictures. But yeah, there's that moment. There is him just playing golf while they're all grafting, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
He's just playing golf because he just tells Kevin that he's got it all sorted, you know. Anything. The only thing that Kevin has to do and the rest of the boys have to do is just agree with what's said to them about him.
And I love how instantly after that, Kevin, like, someone comes up to him and goes, "Oh my God, is that Paul Finch? Like, does he have a massive wiener?" And Kevin just goes, "I have no idea." Like, instantly goes back on it. Instantly goes back on the pact to help them all out. Just goes, oh, right, yeah, no, yeah, he does.
No, there's no chance he has this. Oh, wait, I've recently got some new information. He does. And then all the way through to all of these stories being true, to having relations with Jennifer Coolidge as James Bond.
You have jumped over the fact that he then has, Stifler gives him laxative.
I know, but I don't like people having to poo at school. I didn't want to bring it up. It's quite traumatic. I've done it once.
That whole experience is traumatic. But the one thing I want to put up with is about American toilet cubicles in general. Why do they have that small slit? Small? By, like, where the lock of the door is? Why can't they just close the door properly? It's so strange.
They've designed the doors off the fucking Grand Canyon. You could just see right through there. The gap's so massive. And to the floor. The cubicle walls and door don't go down to the floor. They, like, leave a good 6+ inches of space, probably more than that. And then, yeah, the gap between the door where you've closed it and locked it, you can just see through. I don't understand it.
But it's so wide that the woman can make eye contact with Finch. She can make eye contact with her killer.
This is where it all falls down for Finch. Like, everyone still believes the rumours that he's got a big wiener and that he's beaten up Stifler and that he slept with an older woman. But no, he took a big shit. Can't be with him anymore.
Yeah, I mean, everyone does it. It's really ridiculous.
But you're right. I did like the scene where he Finch and Stifler's mum are like trying to seduce each other essentially in a weird way, because Stifler's mum is acting so illegal. Like, she's offering alcohol, like scotch, to someone who's under the age of 21, and in such a weird, like, flirts with him in that weird way of, like, you know, aged 18 years, just how I like it. And then they go fuck. and then they go have sex, and you're just like, this is so weird. But as obviously we watched this as young men when we first watched it, you know, teenagers, and now people approaching the age of 30, you're still like, go on, Finch, aren't we?
Yeah, of course. I think
but if you imagine it from the other way around, totally not okay.
No, definitely not. But I will say that you say she's illegal.
That's how society is.
You say it's illegal that she's giving him the scotch. It's illegal that she's throwing a party where they've got a keg and everyone's drinking. It's not just giving scotch to Finch. It's all illegal.
She's not throwing a party, and she can argue that she's been overpowered and forced to spend her time in the pool room with all the whiskey.
But she does say, to be fair, like Finch goes, "Thank you for letting us have this party," and she goes, "Like I had any other choice." So maybe she is being forced into it.
I want to know what she does for a job, because we never know about Stifler's dad, but they have an amazing house. I think you're either meant to infer that they had a very good job and they're no longer together, essentially. And I love the bit in the morning when Stifler comes in, sees them. Finch goes, "Hi," and Stifler just passes out. It's brilliant. But here's a question: do you know why you never actually see a shot of Jennifer Coolidge and Eddie K. Thomas like together? No, I didn't know that.
Because she had to go.
Because Eddie K. Thomas is actually 17 in real life.
Oh.
So that's why you never see them actually like together.
Oh.
Which also, if I'm not mistaken, if he was 17 at the time of filming, that means he would have had to have a parent or guardian on set.
That's funny.
It's like Christopher Mintz-Plantz in Superbad, who at the time when they're filming the sex scene at the end of the film, he's 17, so his mum has to be on set.
I do think Finch had a little journey, and I just think it was he created a version of himself and he made that version come true. I mean, it is loose.
I still don't agree, because at the beginning of the film, he is like this weird aloof kid who wants to have sex, ends up having sex, and then his only journey on the go through the film is he lies about himself, realizes it kind of helps, sleeps with an older woman, and then basically just becomes obsessed with older women at the end of the film. Women age like a fine wine. That was the line.
But he does also have... He makes a plan, essentially, and is like... He Eric Ten Hag's himself, for people who know. He's like, stick to the plan. Stick to the plan. We are sticking to the plan. And he sticks to the plan, and it works.
But this is what I mean. I'm reaching for a journey for Finch, but my only thing for him is that he becomes the person in reality that he wanted to be, and that his lies were. Because even when he start having what can we call it now, illegal relations with Stifler's mum, she says that he's great, and he's the only one really that does really well for his first time, and so he's confirmed all of his lies were true.
Fair enough. Why are we analysing this like so in depth? It's a film about jizzy
that's
beer.
not that in depth. He said like 3 things we learned.
I was hoping you'd laugh at that.
I wanted to laugh, but I knew James was going to come back with, no, but what Prometheus says...
No, all I'm saying is...
Socrates once did call jizzy beer the nectar of all life.
You guys act like finding one little link is philosophical. All it is he said 3 lies. All 3 lies came true.
So he is Nostradamus.
But again, you don't know that he has a big wiener. That's never revealed. Unfortunately, because I've tried, you can't wish yourself a big wiener.
Oh no.
That's going out to the world.
That's not a peek behind the curtain. That's a peek to your pants.
That's not pink. Right then. Now, the bit you've all been waiting for. We're about to absolutely destroy the apple pie on the counter. James, what is your take?
I love this film, even though it's terrible. It's not like terrible in terms of rating. It's just not aged well whatsoever. It's horrendously misogynistic. I do think the characters improve in that respect as the movie goes on, but still it's pretty abysmal in that respect. But I watched it when I was a teenage boy, where you probably relate to the movie the most or find it the funniest at that time or most outlandish. You feel like you're growing up for sure. And in terms of the characters, the journeys are loose. Oz definitely goes on one. The other guys, it's so. But I think the journey, not the journey, but the whole point of the movie was they all wanted to lose their virginity by prom night. Yeah, fair enough. But also, in the back end of that, they are 4 guys that will be leaving high school soon, going to different colleges, moving on in their life. And that's most shown in Kevin's journey at the end when Vicky breaks up with him. But it's they finish after prom night at a diner having a burger, and they said, this is what really matters. You know, us friends had a great night. We're all together having a laugh, moving and going on to uni. What they set out to do, they succeeded, and now they realise, you know what, that was silly. We've done it, and now we're with our friends and we move on. But ultimately, it's not that philosophical a movie. It's pretty much face value. It's a fun watch. Especially if you're a 15-year-old man. I think if your partner or if your girlfriend or your wife or fiance, you think you're going to watch it with them, I wouldn't. I don't think they'll enjoy it very much. My partner definitely didn't, and rolled her eyes a lot whenever she'd walk in the room while I was watching the movie this morning. So, great film. Loved it as a kid. Love it now. Just definitely more hyper aware of the illegal activities and also the absolute horrific mentality they have towards women. But it's definitely a nostalgia trip more than anything nowadays.
I would mostly agree with James. As I said to the guys off before we started recording, as soon as I turned it on, I loved it. I was just like smiling. Like, I just remember how iconic it is. And as James said, I loved it as a teenager. I love it now. It's a great film. There's things we haven't even touched on that I love, like the whole Sherman character, the Shermanator. I think those types of jokes are great. The apple pie scene that we didn't really talk about either. It's so iconic. It's amazing. And how they had to have a whole argument about how many thrusts they were allowed to see into the pie for what rating of the movie they got. It's so funny. Like, as we've said, like, there are some terrible things that happen in this movie and things you're like, oh, that's aged terribly. Like, you can't get away with that now. And it's such a good film. It made every joke still landed. I laughed pretty much all the way through. I'd still recommend this to anyone because it's such a pop culture like icon that it's still like people still make jokes about the film now, and it's amazing. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. And just one more thing, if you don't want to watch American Pie because you know how bad some things happen in the film, but you want a similar type of film that's updated for now, go watch Blockers with John Cena and Leslie Mann. Because it's basically this film but gender flipped, and it's really really good. So yeah, as going back to American Pie, great film, highly recommend it still to people to watch. Go and enjoy and have a fun watch for an hour and a half.
I like it.
Alex, it's your pick. Your take is the take we want. So please,
I did. I brought this one to the table. It was a lovely table before I brought it here. It was some nice fine cloth and everything. Now it's a bit tainted. I think it's a fantastic time capsule of like this part of human history. I think that we could learn from the attitudes of the time, the sort of lads mags era kind of thing. And you know, you could say that we've left some of them behind, you know, of the worser qualities of it. Some are still with us, you know, people that will not be named, but who are facing jail time in Romania. I think.
Glad you said that.
I think that you should watch it now because, well, you should watch it as a grown-up if you watched it when you were younger, because you can see the sort of satirical senses of it, and you can see how over the top some of it is, and you're just like, that's just not happening. It's just a movie. You just see it as a movie. You see it less of as a factual piece. But I also think it was a huge part of launching I found this term on the internet. It's bromantic comedy.
Oh yeah,
it's basically what our first unreleased series was.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. But things like Superbad and 40-Year-Old Virgin, it is the, what do you call it again? The starting point.
Yeah.
I don't know what you'd call it.
The initial.
Genesis.
It is the genesis. It's the genesis of weird, wanky movies.
I'm just going to say I'm going to disagree with that because there are loads of films like this before, like Revenge of the Nerds, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Animal House even. You know, these types of films have been for a while.
It is for our generation.
I would agree with James there. For our generation, and maybe the people who are just older than us, so like, you know, into their mid-30s now, maybe 40 even. I think of our generation it is, but not of all of them entirely.
Maybe not of all of them, but it does give a serious public warning to those who are thinking of loving their pastries. So, the pie has been smashed, the Bandcamp stories have been told, the beers have been drunk, unfortunately. We haven't actually decided on our next series, so please get in touch with your ideas. Mr. James Robbins, how may they do that?
So you'll find in the bio on this podcast or in the description of the podcast our hop.bio/3takes, where you can find a little form where you can send us your suggestions of films and series. That would be very helpful. Thank you. We'll make sure to credit anyone that gives us any ideas that we go through with.
And at that hot bio, you can also find all our @s for social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So please go follow us. Please rate, review, share this podcast. Really will help us to grow, and it really means the world to us.
If you don't rate and review this podcast, we will send you a dodgy VHS tape that will not be nature. It will just have Eugene Levy's face on it, and maybe some other things. It's goodbye from James.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Chandler.
Goodbye.
And it's sayonara from me. Oh wait, no, that's a note I left in from last time. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
And that is season 3.